In 1513, an exiled diplomat named Machiavelli wrote a text so dangerous it was banned for centuries. Rulers denounced him not because he was wrong, but because he was precise. He stripped away the veneer of civilization to reveal the raw engine of human nature. He wasn't writing about politics. He was mapping the psychology of the people around you right now. It is the reason friends disappear during hardship, why love is conditional, and why colleagues smile while undermining you. Machiavelli exposed the universal constant, self-interest. His critics were merely hypocrites who practiced what he preached while claiming moral superiority. This is not a theory. It is a recurring historical pattern playing out in your life. The only variable is whether you have the courage to acknowledge it. From the depths of torture and ruin, he wrote, "Men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, and covetous. When success is distant, they are yours completely. When danger arrives, they turn on you." Sit with that discomfort, that internal resistance you feel. That is your programming fighting the truth. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. We are all masters of the performance. Acknowledging this isn't evil, it is the first step to seeing the world as it actually is. He wasn't claiming moral superiority. He was saying the opposite. All humans, himself included, move first from self-interest. And recognizing that is the only way to deal with reality instead of fantasy. Test it yourself. Think about the people you're most sure love you unconditionally. Now imagine you lose everything: money, status, looks, health, usefulness. You become a liability instead of an asset. How many stay? Be honest. That uncomfortable number is the real measure of human loyalty. Most people are there for what you provide, not who you are in some abstract sense. That's not an accusation, it's a description. Accept it, and you can build relationships on solid ground instead of romantic illusions that shatter under pressure. Machiavelli watched humans in war, collapse, and survival moments where loyalty is tested, not talked about. What he found was consistent enough to be made a law. Every relationship runs on self-interest, even when people sincerely believe they're acting from love or virtue. The truth isn't that love is fake or people are evil. It's that attachment is always tied to provision: emotional, social, practical, sexual, financial. When the provision ends, attachment fades. You've seen it. The friend who vanished when your life changed. The bond didn't break by accident. The value exchange did. They said you were everything to them. Then you lost your job, fell into depression, or stopped meeting a need that mattered. Within months, the love vanished. Why? The exchange broke. You were taking more than you could give, and human nature doesn't tolerate imbalance for long. The family member who never calls until they need something. Silence for years, then sudden urgency. Money, help, support. Once the crisis passes, they disappear again. That isn't rare. That's normal. Even unconditional, family bonds often survive because the exchange is hidden, not absent. The colleague who drifted away. You were close at work, then departments changed, promotions happened, paths split. The connection died overnight because it was built on proximity, shared utility, and mutual benefit. Remove those, and there was nothing left to hold it together. This isn't bitterness, it's reality. Relationships don't disappear randomly, they end when the value exchange ends. Machiavelli would look at every one of these situations and say, "Of course, what did you expect?" He watched princes collapse because they believed they were loved, only to see their people welcome invaders who offered better conditions. The loyalty was never to the prince, it was to the benefits. Your relationships work the same way. The attachment isn't about you, it's about what you provide. Once you grasp this, betrayal stops feeling personal. It's just human nature responding when the exchange no longer works. Machiavelli wrote that men love according to their own will, but fear according to the will of the ruler. In romantic relationships, no one stays because of history, promises, or emotional narratives. They stay because the relationship still meets their needs better than the alternatives. When that changes, when you stop providing value or someone else provides more, the bond dissolves. Harsh, but honest. And if you look closely, you've done the same. You drifted from friends. You lost interest. You walked away when the cost outweighed the benefit, not because you're bad, but because you're human. The same rule governs work. Employers don't keep you out of loyalty or appreciation. They keep you because replacing you costs more than retaining you. The moment that equation flips, you're gone. This isn't cynicism, it's reality. And once you stop denying it, you can finally move through the world with clarity instead of disappointment. Family works the same way. Even blood ties operate on exchange. Parents who provide support often receive care later. Siblings drift when their lives no longer overlap. Family members who take more than they give slowly get pushed out. The exchange is quieter, less explicit, but it's still there. Those who become a net burden eventually find themselves on the outside, regardless of shared DNA. Machiavelli's insight is simple. Once you accept that all relationships are exchanges, betrayal stops feeling personal. The question shifts from, why did they do this to me, to what exchange kept this relationship alive and what changed. People constantly test your boundaries. Machiavelli wrote that men do good only when necessity forces them. Humans probe limits to see what they can get away with. Firm resistance earns respect. Weak resistance invites escalation. This isn't cruelty, it's efficiency. People instinctively push for more while giving less, until consequences make that strategy unprofitable. Watch it play out. The friend who cancels last minute is testing your tolerance. Accept it repeatedly, and you teach them your time is worthless. The partner who speaks to you with disrespect is testing whether you'll enforce standards or absorb the damage. If you stay, you've taught them it works. The colleague who takes credit for your work is testing whether you'll challenge them. Let it slide once, and it becomes policy. The family member who only calls when they need something is testing whether imbalance has a cost. Machiavelli's rule is brutal and accurate. People respect boundaries that are enforced, not boundaries that are announced. What you tolerate becomes the rule. That's why the endlessly forgiving, endlessly accommodating person isn't rewarded, they're exploited. People who tolerate disrespect train others to keep disrespecting them. No consequences means no restraint. The one who enforces boundaries, who will walk away, who backs words with action, earns respect every time. Machiavelli said it's better to be feared than loved because fear is rooted in consequence, not emotion. Love fades when it's convenient, consequences don't. If you're being taken advantage of, you're allowing it. Your behavior teaches people what they can get away with. The moment you enforce real cost, distance, withdrawal, separation, either the behavior changes or the person disappears. Both outcomes are a win. Attraction dies without distance. Total availability kills value. Total transparency kills intrigue. Machiavelli understood that power requires restraint, mystery, and unpredictability. The same law governs modern relationships. When someone becomes completely available, fully transparent, and totally merged into another person's life, they stop being a person and become a utility. In relationships, this is why attraction often dies after moving in together. Not because closeness is bad, but because independence disappears. Mystery is replaced by familiarity, scarcity by constant access. The individual becomes an extension, and extensions aren't desired, they're used. Early on, both people have full lives, friends, goals, interests, time apart. You share selectively, you choose each other. That tension creates attraction. Then one person collapses their entire life into the relationship. Friends vanish, hobbies die, availability becomes unlimited. The message is clear, I have nothing without you. Attraction fades not out of cruelty, but because value was erased. Machiavelli saw this clearly. The ruler who was always accessible lost respect. The one whose time was scarce remained powerful. The same law applies everywhere. The friend who's always free becomes the backup option. The professional who answers messages at all hours teaches others their time is worthless. The family member who always accommodates becomes invisible. Strategic distance isn't manipulation, it's independence. A life, priorities, an identity that exist outside any one relationship. That's what makes you valuable. The one who needs nothing holds the power. The one who needs the relationship loses it. This is what Machiavelli meant when he said, "It's better to be feared than loved if you can't be both." Love depends on benefit and convenience. It breaks easily. Respect is enforced by consequences, and consequences don't fluctuate with feelings. People may stop loving you when it suits them. They won't cross you when they know it costs them. This isn't about intimidating people or ruling through fear. It's about understanding that respect enforced by consequences is more reliable than affection earned by generosity. The person everyone likes but doesn't respect gets used. Plans get cancelled. Boundaries get ignored. Favors go unrepaid. There's no cost for disrespect, so disrespect becomes normal. The person who's respected, even if they're not universally liked, gets treated properly. Commitments are kept. Lines aren't crossed, not because of warmth, but because consequences exist. In professional life, the boss who's endlessly nice gets mediocre effort. The boss who's fair but firm gets results. In personal life, the person who always forgives gets worse treatment over time. The person who enforces boundaries and follows through gets consistency. Machiavelli's mechanism is simple. Humans respond to incentives. If mistreating you costs nothing, expect more of it. If it costs access, support, or the relationship itself, behavior improves, or the person removes themselves. Both outcomes work in your favor. What never works is tolerating disrespect while hoping people will change out of goodwill. Machiavelli understood that expecting people to rise above their nature leads to disappointment. Structuring relationships so self-interest aligns with treating you well leads to stability. If this hit uncomfortably close, that's the point. These patterns aren't opinions, they're operating rules. Once you see them, you can't unsee them, and you don't get played the same way again. If this changed how you think about people, like the video, subscribe, and stay sharp.